Week 17 is all that matters, and Often on the Clock is the only show that matters if you're drafting on Underdog this weekend. We got a slate full of action here, 13 games. The lobby's packed full for us. The BadgeBros and I, we're going to break it down from a strategy perspective, battle royales, 12-person contests, and of course, our world-famous pick'em builds. Let's do it, guys. All right, week 17, guys. It has finally arrived. We got John Warner and Nez above me. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. I was just telling John that, I love spending time here in Pennsylvania with the family, but itching to get back to the original setup without these cartoons and this. I miss my camera. I miss my old chair, but we're chugging along. It always sounds like a great idea to come home for like multiple weeks, and then you're here in like the middle of the stay, and you're like, man,
I'm surprised you're still there because it was last week at this time you were there. I feel like all of my family trips, when my parents come out here, when we go out there, it's the extra long weekend. You do like the Wednesday to Monday, the Thursday to Tuesday, like that's the sweet spot. But you're just parking your tent there.
Yeah.
We better hope you're not on the big screen downstairs right now.
I probably am, but no, it's all love. But we miss the old setup. It's strictly a setup thing. It's strictly just missing the old setup. That's all it is. That's all it is.
John, how was your Canadian Christmas other than our Trey McBride spice not creating general wealth for the BadgeBros in the Deposit Kingdom?
Man, it would have been a generational Christmas if that one got home. I think kind of like a Christmas gift from us to Underdog. Like the pick'em's been smashing so hard that we just took it easy on them with that one. We were like, you know what, from us to them, because we take so much with our pick'ems here that we had to give one back there. Christmas was good though. I'm still in that that hybrid, before the new year lazy territory where it's like, I'll be straight with you guys right now. I got my plaid flannels on right now. I got my moccasins.
Prove it.
Going here.
Oh God. The thing is from that angle, it looked like it could be a kilt, a Stefan Diggs kilt. I didn't see any division in the pant legs. I'm going with kilt.
It's a Canadian tradition, Pete, to wear your kilt for days after Christmas.
I believe it.
Man. Yeah, still in that territory. Been doing a lot of hoops drafting and lazing around and battling through these BRs.
Nice. Yeah, Nez, I've been doing kind of the same trajectory each week where it's like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I've been firing at the playoff drafts. We did a couple big mittens with a couple of the ship chasers the other night. That was fun. And then the second like Thursday hits and the projections, everything's out, then it's full on BR blast off mode.
Yeah, and especially on a week like this week, which we'll get into, it felt really hard to get your feet wet early because there was so much news that we were waiting for. And now there's still news breaking, like as we are doing these shows today, that are just completely morphing the slate, which has just made it kind of difficult to get an idea of what ADP should be. But, this is, we just adapt and survive. And that's why we are always be drafting, as we like to say.
You know what's crazy with that one? I mean, I'm living vicariously through so many people this week with the week 17 stuff. Like I got big ass FOMO right now, and maybe it's why my draft volume's been down a little bit in the football landscape this week, is because I can't bring myself to like think about all these matchups that I know by the back of my hand, and it's crazy to think that Tyreek was kind of like, if you got exploitative over him all year long, he was the guy you need. Then we get the Waddle news just before the show breaks here, and he's going to be like kind of a lower owned piece pushing into these finals and stuff like that. And he could just be like the guy you need again. It's just this crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I just kept thinking about that one when I saw the Waddle news.
It's a wild game. I mean, the Amari Cooper thing is that entire thing in a microcosm. Highest rostered player, makes sense, drops an insane game in week 16, and then doesn't even play. And then you watch that game unfold. You're like, I think Amari could have had a pretty good game. Could easily have dropped 20 in that game environment last night. it is nuts. But man, I still, even as someone who got my heart ripped out not getting a team in, like, I fucking love the pods. I fucking love the randomness and uniqueness, and every team's live, and your team can go from looking like the nuts to the worst thing possible and the turn of a dime. I fucking love it, man.
Yeah, I mean,
It
it's
is
what
brilliant.
makes the game beautiful. Yeah.
So
I-
it's so funny that you're like, to me, not being in the finals and like that FOMO is manifesting in drafting, right? And yours is just like you don't even want to blast off.
No, I'm a little more apprehensive. I'm a little more like, okay, I'm gonna focus on NBA for a couple days here, and then I'll get the football itch more so on later this evening and tomorrow and stuff. I
I've been
don't.
getting smacked around in hoops, so I'm ready to get this this NFL stuff kicked off. But and we'll obviously dive into the nitty gritty of the slate. But I do feel like this week, outside of like CMC and Kyron, it seems pretty ambiguous across these drafts. I mean, it's hard to define a top 36 this week in these BR streets. I think you can go a lot of different directions with this. And I could see myself doing as always, just kind of sticking to my heavy correlation plays in my smaller field stuff, which didn't quite work out last week because if you didn't have Amari Cooper, you could kiss your winnings goodbye. So as long as we don't get another 50 burger, maybe the correlation bros can get home in the BRs as well as the BBM streets.
I think we got to give, I'm sure you guys brought it up on your shows this week. I mentioned it on Monday. I want to give another shout out to John Boy for just the massive cojones on going all in on the Joe Flacco doubles. People not real, like, they're going to see the good side of it. Like, that kind of play can go very wrong where you lose all your entries. John Boy knows that. But it also is really a great way to capitalize on those takes. Like, if you were to do that every week, right, you'd have probably 15 losing weeks, but that 1 week could totally pay for your season. And if he would have binked the battle royale, it would have paid for 2 to 3 seasons, So I just want to give a shout out for him having that stance. And I know, John, you do a really good job of that, playing like super exploitatively when you like the spot. And I just liked seeing John execute that at such a high level.
Yeah, we gave him some big time flowers when we talked about it on Wednesday there. I wanted to ask you the same question I asked Nez on that day. Pete, were you surprised that when he had 96% QB1 and 68% wide receiver 1 and 20, what was the number on Brees? I think 18 or 20, Nez? Something like
20
that.
something,
Third highest owned running back. He turned about $1,100, I think it was total, into 7-ish K. It was 6 something in the BR, and then he scooped the single entry, the $20 single entry for 1K there. Would you expect him to have, like, can we say he ran bad? Like, would you expect a higher ROI with 100% QB1 and wide receiver 1, basically 65%?
Yeah, I think my take would have been, I'm not surprised he didn't win, but I'm surprised he didn't have a team in the top 10. Right. I think because we know how perfect you have to be, like you're essentially hitting the optimal, more or less there to finish at the top, which is really hard. Even if I told you, like, I could tell you the 3 highest scoring guys on the slate, and I would still bet you're a dog to lose the BR. Like, I'll let you max 150, tell you the 3 highest there, and you still are probably a dog. But yeah, to be that concentrated and not have even more shots there clustered in the top 25, top 10, I think was surprising.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it.
That's very fun thought exercise too, thinking about like the top 3 and knowing that, and like still probably being a dog to win, which just is like a testament to how tough and or fun these contests are. I don't know if the Brees score, in addition to the Brown stuff we were talking, if that hurt or helped him in his ROI, because he was high on Brees, but I think maybe if you I do think that if you get rid of that or regress that Brees score to like something normal, like 18, I think his ROI would probably improve, because I mean, that just made it so had to have that week, which is like, it's nice when you hit, but for me, I'm never really like, I'm almost never going to have weeks like that. So the weeks like last week are going to be losing weeks for me. And like, I know they're anomalies and it's okay. I just have to live with it.
The only other thing I would say too is why I'm not as surprised. Like I think I would be even more surprised. Like if he went 100% Joe Flacco, Amari Cooper, but didn't double it, because then you're giving yourself all of these different chances. And we've already kind of talked that in general, those double stacks are not as, if we were talking about once this stuff gets simmed out, that we think that might not grade out as well as everyone thinks. And what was unique about that, and the reason why I had the Joe Flacco stuff and some of the smaller stuff, but I wasn't piling it on in the BR, because all three of those guys were being drafted in every contest. And so it didn't make it as like quite of a juicy spot for me. Obviously I'm wrong and John Boy is right, but it wouldn't have stood out to me as like a back the Brinks truck up spot, because I'm like, man, everyone's else is going to have Joe Flacco Njoku combos without Amari if he's the one, and they're going to have the, like, I think I would have been way more worried about how perfect I have to be if those guys are being drafted in 100%. So I'm taking it all back. John's a fish.
well, there's two interesting things that you bring up there. So I just pulled it up on the side here. Flacco was 96, Amari was 68, Njoku was 54. It'd be very interesting to know how many of those Amari plus Njokus were together versus just one off.
That's actually less than I mean, Njoku had a top 6 tight end ADP.
Mm-hmm. But wasn't top. Yeah. The other thing that you bring up there was just like the overarching fact that those other two players were owned. Would this have been a smarter? Now you can't get smarter than nailing QB1 and WR1, but like purely hypothetical, would this be a smarter strategy if Joe Flacco's ADP was like QB12 and Amari was was wide receiver 35 instead of wide receiver 21?
That's where I'm at. And like the week that I had my success, it was because 2 of those 3 guys weren't getting drafted with the Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz. And so I'm just like, if I hit on, and there's a reason then like I had 2 top 10, right? Because the amount of rosters I was competing with was not even close to the amount of rosters that John Boy was having to compete with those combos.
Yeah. Now, if only we could just find the QB12 that can score like the QB1 and the wide receiver.
I got some this week.
I know. I was gonna say, John, let's hold your horses, man. We got some. The QB landscape is ultra fun this week, I will say.
It is.
All right. Well, let's dive in. I had two week 17 things I wanted to hit really fast before we jump into the actual slate that I found very interesting this week. Let me see if I can navigate here. There we go. Okay, this one was from Easy, and I know you're gonna have him on the After Dark on tomorrow there. Yeah. So maybe something fun to pick his brain and know what his takeaways are. But he basically just compared all the live totals and all the live team totals and spreads and blah 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 of week 17 in actual fact right now versus what we thought it was in the middle of June, and then how that applies to best ball. I think it's a very cool exercise, very gal brainy to see. Some of this will be injury related, but some of this will also be like, wow, we were pretty spot on with 2 teams that are primarily healthy in Seattle and Pittsburgh, right? Like the spread and team totals are functionally the exact same as we thought in June, right? So yeah, I just thought it was a very cool exercise that he went through here. I'm not sure what the takeaway is, or even if you guys had any on the spot takeaway to it.
He had a pretty good one on Twitter, which was just like the point. He was going back and forth with someone else on Twitter, but the point was that he was making was that like we're not like when people are doing the week 17 correlation stuff, which is like in quotations, it's not trying to predict what will be the highest total come week 17. It's just getting 2 pieces in a game environment, and if it does go off, then like it's just nailing one decision with two players, which has always been the thesis. That was, that's what this is kind of going to show. And I think that the Browns Jets game was just like chef's kiss for that. Like no better way to start off the best ball finals than with a game that looked shitty from the onset from the summer, it looks shitty. It looked shitty Thursday morning. And then it comes out and it scores 57 points. Like that is like, oh my God, the bros just were levitating when that took place.
And it's so true. And it's crazy to me that ostensibly smart people can't wrap their head around what that means from a correlation. None of us are trying, like people joke around like, oh, that Chiefs Bengals game is going to be hot. But I promise you, no one out there is building 150 Chiefs Bengals stacks because they think that is going to definitively be the game you need in week 17. All of this correlation stuff is in a vacuum. Like that's the whole thing. Like people even talk about that game getting canceled last year. That was a point for correlation. Every player scored 0 points in that game because they were correlated within the snow globe environment of that game. Cleveland Jets last night was a snow globe environment. Did not matter what the other totals were, anything. It was when those pieces came together, they interacted in a way with each other that allowed them to hit a higher outcome. And people can't fucking wrap their heads around that.
It's probably a good thing, right? like we don't want that point to get home. It's better for BBM5 because we can do it all over again and get the same negative sentiment around it.
Yeah, and then the polar opposite of this that I found very funny was friend of the show, Jewish McCaffrey, just brought up, imagine telling people in the summer that you're drafting the BR this week. Oh, shit, there you go. That you're drafting the BR this week, and we got Kyron at ADP 2. We got Puka at 9. We got McBride at 22. And yet Mahomes, Henry, Bijan, Eckler are all undrafted. So I just found it an interesting juxtaposition for like what week 17 is right now through the daily lens versus through the BBM lens.
For sure. Yeah. And it's like, I mean, and none of this is crazy, right? Like you're not looking at these ADPs. If anything, I was just looking at Mahomes' price and ownership on Redacted. And I'm like, I mean, are we just ignoring like what the new reality is right now? So yeah, no, it's a beautiful game.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out Alan. I assume Alan Rosen is a Rosen on Underdog here. Been having some big time success recently. So shout outs there. Thanks for joining the community. Let's start with our game hub like we kind of always do. There we go. Cool. What's been jumping out to you guys, whether it is just game environment wise or whether it's in terms of ADP juxtaposed to game environment? What's been catching you guys' eye?
Well, I mean, 13 game slate, doesn't help with the ambiguity that I was kind of referencing in drafting this week, but there's also just a lot of games that, I mean, it's a lot of fun games. I will say that. Like it's definitely not a bunch of stinkers in my opinion. And there's a lot of fun ways to kind of deviate depending on, what games are your favorite, but obviously some major high totals with the teams that you would expect, like the Eagles. I think maybe the Eagles are close to 30-point implied total. I know the Niners, I think, are 30-point implied total. The Bills and the Chiefs all leading the pack this week in terms of their implied point total, but only the Chiefs really are the only ones that are being like quite disrespected in the BR streets. And I mean I'm probably gonna go back to that Chiefs well. I mean that primetime beatdown from the Raiders is probably the best thing that we could have in terms of getting a buy low opportunity on Mahomes and Kelsey and Rice and now Pacheco. So the Chiefs for me right now are kind of standing out as a team that if you want them, you can have them, and nobody will be in your way in terms of stacking up this game.
I agree with you, but I'll also say just ADP wise, I think you could make a case that the Dolphins and Ravens is being like completely overlooked, right? Tyreek goes and Lamar goes, and then like everything else you want in that game is completely free. Obviously Waddle's out, but it's just like that game has that's the highest total on the main slate at 47.
Second highest, I believe.
Second highest.
Yeah, because the Niners themselves.
Oh yeah, the Niners.
yeah.
It's unbelievable what's going on in that game environment.
But like, if you want to stack up Lamar with stuff, like you're going to get all of that at fairly low field stuff. So yeah, it is. it is definitely interesting how, and that dynamic has been playing out a lot with some of these higher total games where the pieces don't just necessarily fit together in a really clean way.
It kind of feels like one of those weeks where maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago there, where we think we know the answers to the test right now with these crazy lopsided spreads where we just want to be aping in. I could definitely see like some double stack stuff getting home from the super favorites. Call it the Niners, call it the Eagles, call it the Bills, maybe even Rams. I mean, they're only probably 6-point favorites. They're 5.5 on Fantasy Life right now. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like a little onslaughty to me, where it's like if you just want to mix Chiefs and Eagles, or you want to mix Niners and Rams. Niners and Rams is pretty hard, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know. Do you guys agree with that? Like less game environmenty, more team focused this week, or is that stupid?
In the main BR, it's going to be hard to correlate too much, I think,
Yeah.
is like a good general principle that we've kind of all agreed on in this. But it seems like a great week for me to blast off into bomb again and just be sweating my balls off on these on entry fees there. But you can really correlate around a lot of different games, like Pete was saying, like Dolphins and Ravens is really easy to stack up, and you can still get two pieces of this Niners game fairly easily as well. Like Ayuk is going at the 2-3 turn. So if you want to do Debo and Ayuk or McCaffrey and Ayuk, like you can still double stack that game. Like the Chiefs, you can accumulate a lot of pieces of. So to me, it's standing out as a slate where I'm really excited to get into my small field tournaments because of this fact that there is a lot of teams that you can build around.
And just to put a point on that, and it doesn't have to be DeBomb, like the fullback dive, I think is one of my favorite contests. 5 max, $25 entry, 456 entrants. Like, you really like, I wouldn't probably do this, but like a quarterback double stack, or I was going to say a triple stack. Like you could theoretically, if the pieces lined up, like triple stack in that size field, like if you hit the game environment. So if that is your style of play and you want to lean more into correlation, like look at these contests, even I would say up to like the extra point, that's a little over 2,000 entries. Like that's where you can get your double stacks. That's where you can really push in. Whereas the BRs, you got to be fucking perfect. You got to pick this guy from this game and this guy from this one. But if you want to roll out, your double stacks, I think the fullback dive is where to do it for sure. Or in those size contests in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good shout.
Yeah, shout out Neumy in the lab creating these beautiful contests for guys, for hashtag guys like us. That's just like real quick. I want to talk about this Colts versus Raiders game because if I didn't know that Antonio Pierce came into this Raiders locker room and just completely transformed this team, I would be smashing Jonathan Taylor over and over. But I am legitimately like Coach Pilled. And I think that he actually has this team playing different, inspired football. They're not out mathematically of the playoff race just yet. These guys are like, the defense is really ratcheting it up on these opposing teams right now. Is Jonathan Taylor sticking out to you guys with no Zach Moss this week?
I'm going back to the well, bud. I'm going back to the well. When you give me a guy of his talent relative in like a half decent spot at home inside, it just feels like the Zach Moss all over again. It feels like him last week. It feels like Tony Redacted from weeks before. It feels like the Ken Walker week. I don't know. I like it again.
You don't think these guys are like remembering the Jeff Saturday Bowl? You think that they're not like trying to get their lick back against these Colts from last year? You think they're still not embarrassed?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, now I am thinking about it. I don't know. The roll was so strong last week. It was so strong.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere.
I'm like not worried about the Raiders defense. I'm like more worried about, does JT still have it? I think the jury's still a little out on that. And I don't even necessarily, I'm saying like he's, Jover for whatever, but I'm just wondering, like coming back from this injury, he hasn't looked like he did a couple years ago when he was just like a stone cold league winner and looked like the best running back in football. The volume is going to be there, but I do worry, like, can he give us the big plays that get you to, like, you watch what Breece Hall does last night in the past couple of weeks, where what he's doing after the catch, or you watch what Jahmyr Gibbs does, and it gives them access to a ceiling that even the volume plotters just don't have access to. So that would be my concern. Like, I think the JT play is like no competition, good matchup, and he gets in the end zone twice and gives you like a solid workload. I guess I generally worry about his explosiveness these days.
Well, okay. Well, let's look at it through the lens of just that game and say, could we make the exact same case for Zamir White on the other side, that they're not that different, yet one's going to have like 1/4 the ownership that the other one will?
Exactly.
Well, we got to work. Well, Jacobs is a game time decision, but your point remains, right? Like, I would rather have the starting running back on the Raiders side than I think the Colts side in this matchup. I think that is a really fair point. I've been thinking too about how, you mentioned like Gibbs and Breece Hall, and at least the way that I understood it when it comes to the theory of pass catching backs is like, oh, they get receptions and receptions are half a point. Whereas I'm leaning more into like, well, yeah, the receptions are nice, but getting these talented backs, the football, and just like making them a feature of the passing game just allows them to do more explosive stuff. And maybe that was always the thesis that that just completely went over my head, and I was more focused on the on the usage itself. But I mean, man, what a revelation it's been for the Jets to just be like, oh yeah, Breece Hall is really good. We should give him the ball as many times as possible, and just like and receptions are part of that. Hopefully we can see that for James Cook this week. For whatever reason, last week they just decided that, hey, this dude can't be involved in the passing game any longer. 20 touches for 5 points, the most uninspiring thing I've ever seen. Projecting really well this week, but long-winded way of saying, we need guys that running backs that catch the ball. Newsflash are good for the game.
It's kind of reminiscent to your point, Nez, and I'm now forgetting the name of it, but remember the stuff Karain was looking into with tight ends earlier this offseason, and just how much they were coming
ones.
It was before his splash zone stuff, and it wasn't like 12 personnel, but it was like, it was basically just like, there are certain tight ends that come off the field in red zone scenarios for personnel reasons.
11 and a half.
Yeah, stuff like that. And basically being like, even if they're the pass catching tight end, them just not being on the field naturally reduces their opportunities, their chance for these extra random touchdowns. And it might not seem like a big deal, but you add 1 or 2 extra touchdowns to a tight end profile over the course of the season, and it moves them from like tight end 14 to tight end 8. And that, I think, to Nez's stuff, right? What is it? The best whatever is availability. I can't even remember the phrase right now. Like, just being on the field is availability. There we go. Yeah. And I think that's true for the running backs who do pass down stuff. It's not like the 0.5s are going to add up. It's just like there's going to be more chances for them to hit.
Yeah. Just a little smack in the face after seeing like Breece Hall these weeks just being a PPR cheat code lately, or even half point PPR cheat code. Just being able to get these opportunities for him is obviously a big deal, but not too many. I mean, one of the best pass catching backs on this slate right now, believe it or not, is Amari DiMercado. Hello, who's on back-to-back weeks, like being involved in the passing game, and against these Eagles. I mean, I'm not getting there, but I mean, it's a just kind of funny. But one person I am getting to, and I mean, it's a flow chart matchup though, is our boy McBride. I mean, this is the juiciest of all juicy spots for him. Week 17, just waiting for him to smash this slate. Are you guys going to be over the field on McBride this week? Because he's going like late second, and I tell you what, he's a 1-2 turn guy for me.
I'll tell you right now, I wanted to just go check the chain to see where I'm at. I'm at 30% McBride, and that number is going to definitely be going up. So, absolutely. And I'm going to tell you right now, guys, I already had to just do a spoiler and check, but one Mr. Trey McBride, a little 2x spice again this week. Are we going back to the well?
I think we have to, man. I'm going to keep buying that one. I'm going to keep buying that one. I still can't believe it didn't get home last week. We had the entire 3.5 quarters for it to get home. Nez, I got 2 things that were living rent free in my head there. The Breece one that you were talking about, I think he scored like 16.5 or more half PPR points in each of the last 3 weeks. Obviously had that 30 ball outlier one. He still only has 1 touch inside the 5-yard line this season. So just speaking to the explosive nature and like the explosive nature of, when utilized in the pass game, I think that was pretty spot on there. And I forgot my second one. So let's talk about Trey McBride. Yeah, I'm ready to get burnt again. We've talked about attacking this team over the middle of the field over and over again. I think I'll be a little lighter than last week when I ended up with 46% of them. Even though I love the matchup, I think the only reason I'll be lighter on it is because I love the Kelsey matchup. And I know Kelsey hasn't been balling the last little bit, but like Bengals have been one of the worst teams against tight ends all year. They've been cut apart. Then all of a sudden you take out pass catching running back in McKinnon. I have no idea what they're going to do with the backfield with CH with the illness. And Pacheco, I don't think he's going to play. Like concussion protocol. His helmet came off twice last week when he got like smoked. Yeah, it was kind of like scary. Yeah, I just think if it's like win now time for the Chiefs after an embarrassing loss and whatnot, I think it's, yeah, we just come out here and we just go back to what's worked for years and we just pepper Kelsey. So I think the only thing that would be holding me back from my McBride this week a little more so is the fact that I'm going to be trying to get overweight Kelsey.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I've had no problem clicking Kelsey at his ADP. It is a little hard. I mean, like these Niners right now, like I'm definitely in, one Niner in every lineup mode. And then you look at like the Debo Ayuk Kittle. And so sometimes you're having to use a pick in that range where you would otherwise have to deviate for Kelsey. But yeah, I think other than, there are some of these off the board kind of QB tight end correlations. Like I'm doing the Fields Kmet stuff. I'm doing the CJ Stroud, Dalton Schultz stuff. I'm even doing some Derek Carr, Juwan Johnson type stuff. So I'm willing to correlate with the tight end if they're not getting drafted. But otherwise, yeah, I like that top end a lot.
For you guys, just top of the board there, because we talked Niners and the McCaffrey thing. What are we doing with the Ayuk versus Debo thing? Because Debo goes first every single time and we get it wrong every single week. What are we doing there? And just wanted to bring up the point that Adam Levitan tweeted earlier from the ETR stuff that they think this is the highest positional player ranking projection they've ever given a position player in CMC this week.
Got a crying baby back here, so I'm sorry if this is coming through. Bless her heart. She got a stuffy nose. I've been there. I cry every time too. No, man, it's got to be
every Sunday at about 5 p.m. Eastern. Or 5
I know that like
Pacific.
Half the things I say on this show are just like bro science narratives. However, I really do think that Debo, if it's Debo versus Ayuk and it's like good team versus bad team, and like this is obviously a horrendous team and the Commanders, that I want Debo. I just think Debo just has the ability to cook these bad defenses, in a much easier fashion. He's just such an easy playmaker for Purdy. I mean, he can do so many different things, and Shanahan for that matter. So, I am going to play, the ADP game and also the bro science game and lean Debo. I'm not going to galaxy brain that because you can still get Ayuk with other pairings as well. But I'm definitely not like Pete said, it's one Niner in every team for me. And it's like, and that's a borderline must. I mean, this is just the smashes of all smashes against the Commanders this week.
Yeah, and even as a guy who has been firmly Ayuk over Debo, a lot of that was weeks too, where I thought the gap in the ADP was just kind of wild. Debo was going like 4th overall and Ayuk was going 20th, like one of those weeks. So that's an easy spot. This week, because Debo had the down game, because Ayuk looked better, those ADPs have inched closer together. And I'm just playing it by ADP. I'll naturally end up with way more Ayuk and Kittle just because they're more readily available in the 3rd round, whereas like a guy like Debo's never going to be there. But I'm not passing on Debo when he's at the top of my queue. I am just like a Niner in every draft almost. Like I don't have that hard coded, but like when I have my personal ranks and everything in there, it basically shakes out that I have a Niner in every draft.
Exactly.
Okay. Cool. No concern for you guys about like the books out on Purdy. Like the Commanders are just so bad. Despite throwing 4 picks last week, it's like, oh, just wipe that one under the rug. He's back to MVP caliber form this week against the Commanders.
I'm definitely turning the page on that. I think, maybe it's me underrating, DVP and like and just the Ravens defense in general, but got to turn the page on that. I think Shanahan has made enough comments in the past that he feels extremely confident in Purdy, and it was like the game's out of reach. Purdy got banged up. Like, let's just let Darnold run with it, even at risk of hurting poor Brock's MVP odds, which he doesn't deserve anyways.
Yeah, and to me, like, I think we talked about this dynamic with the Niners a couple weeks ago. I think it was the Cardinals week about how you go about like stacking them. And the thing I think about, I think you either do CMC as a one-off, or you compare CMC with Brock. I think that correlation can work. Like if you get that 45-point game like he's done against the Cardinals and Brock throws a few to him and spreads it around. But I even think, like, when I've really kind of thought it through too, I don't know if I even like CMC with the other guys. Like it's been honestly one of the toughest decisions for me in drafts because I like where Kittle and Ayuk's price are. And when I have the 101, I'm always sitting there and really thinking that through. Do I actually want to pair him with these guys, especially a guy like Kittle, whose ceiling outcomes really do need those touchdowns? And if McCaffrey's getting his 30 points, that separates. I'm like, I do worry about that negative correlation between their uber ceiling games. And I'm leaning toward playing the Niners, specifically in Battle Royale, the big contest, as one-offs or just paired with Purdy, but no other real combos with these guys.
Okay. Yeah, that checks out. On the other side of that game, like traditionally speaking, we'd think about run backs if we think it's like high total, high paced game environment, something like that. Do you guys give credence this time of the year? I mean, this time of year, it's kind of an anomaly that I think there's 22, 23, 20, something like that teams that can still make the playoffs. Granted, like their chances are like really low, but I mean, the fact that you just have that many in the mix this late in the season, we might not even get like rest and stuff next week from certain teams. Anyways, long-winded way of saying, does that scare you off of like a traditional run back from the Commanders side of that game, or for the Giants versus the Rams side of that game, where you would be like Saquon's really pushed up this week, in my opinion. Projections like Saquon. I don't like Saquon this week. It just feels like this time of year is when like you start taking it easy and, tapering off some of those veteran workloads when you're out of it. Is there any credence to that thought, or is that just pure bro science?
It's not something that's like weighing into any of my process, I will say, but potentially an edge there. I mean, it's something. It's something that hasn't crossed my mind, but I'm not going to fade any John narratives. You seem to know some things that I don't sometimes, and I think that's there's something there. But for me, it's not anything that I'm going to be weighing into my decision making.
I think for me, I think I definitely agree with that take, maybe more so for running backs than I do wide receivers. Like I'm just thinking of some, it's like I don't care about Austin Eckler's role at this point, like in this game environment. But then I might, make an exception for a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, who I keep going back to. I really like how this is setting up this week with Will Levis back. I mean, this is the same Houston secondary that just gave up a generational game to Amari Cooper, and no one wants to draft DeAndre Hopkins. You can go look at the ETR projections. I mean, he's projecting extremely well. So otherwise I might be like, veteran, let me chase Rashee Rice every time here or whatever instead. But yeah, some of these guys in these spots specifically, I'm willing to be kind of context specific with it.
Cool. There are some big Q tags on the slate. You alluded to the Austin Eckler one there. I don't think, or not Austin Eckler having a Q tag, but that game environment has Keenan Allen with a Q tag. I think it'd be crazy if they brought him back this week.
I think I saw he's ruled out. I think I just saw him and Palmer ruled out.
Okay, cool. The Chase one, they still have a fringe shot at a playoff spot. That low key makes T. Higgins ADP bad, in my opinion. If he goes and makes him a value, do you guys think he can find his way in this week?
It's scary. I mean, he's not ruled out yet, and he was. I think he was even a limited participant. I thought I saw. So probably game time decision by the looks of it. And I think Ladarius Sneed or Sneed for the Chiefs, their top corner hasn't practiced yet with a calf injury. So low key, maybe something there. You know, like I don't want to get like too caught up in these like cornerback matchups, but it can't help. It can't possibly hurt these
Mhm.
Bengals wideouts for Snead to if he does end up sitting in that game where both teams got to have it. But that is a really tough spot is choosing those Bengals wideouts because if Chase sits, then Higgins is obviously like a great play in my opinion. But like you said, right now, I think Higgins represents probably a bad click.
It feels like the inverse of Waddle Hill 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Where it's like you're getting the Q tag at the back end with the discount. This feels like a very NBA esque slate right now. Like the DK Q tag, the Chase Q tag. I don't know if we want to go with the CH stuff. It looked good early, but there's two more back here. You liked the Komet stuff. Pacheco, I don't think goes.
Yeah, I will say they're
Yeah.
officially listing him as questionable for this week.
Okay.
Yeah, I just saw that one come through.
And
That's
he's like a
so
35 ADP, or isn't he? He's got to be buried, right? Is he above 35? I'd be, yeah, 35.4. So essentially undrafted.
I do think, and I, as someone who has been drafting CEH this week, I think, I mean, we have to make the shift, right? You take Pacheco and you put CH at your ranks just behind him. Is that
yeah.
that's the play, right?
That's the
Yeah,
new.
now
Yeah.
now that's the new meta. Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely flip those ones. Same with cover boy Zamir White is you could kind of just take Jacobs and then put Zamir White right behind. But that's if you want it. Like I think I'm not even sure I'd want that one. The Pacheco one I
Yeah.
want. The Jacobs one I'm not sure I would want. I would only want it if he gets ruled out and then you just take White.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Thinking that Zamir could cut into Jacob's workload
Yeah.
if he was active.
Yeah, there was a coach speed index, whether it was last night or this morning, something like that, where like straight coach speak from Pierce, where it was like, yeah, he's earned a role, whether or not Jacobs is out there or not. That's me paraphrasing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this one too. Yeah, Colt's terrible versus the run, just in general. Good shout from Turn Me Up.
Yeah. Are there any other Q tag situations like that you guys are leveraging this week? I mentioned I've been doing it a ton with Fields and Komet because it's like if Komet is ruled out, I have no problem having naked Justin Fields. And, you know, I like some of those tight ends who are getting undrafted that I'll just slide it to the top of my ranks. So that didn't bother me. Are there any other Q tags you guys are exploiting?
John mentioned DK, but I feel like DK is going to play. He's been always like the whole season he's had that Q tag and he's been held out of practice, you know, for many weeks this season. So I mean you could play that angle against the Steelers this week where the Steelers defense has Joey Porter Jr., but that's really it. They're extremely banged up. And hey, if Mason Rudolph is going to do what he did last week, that he could end up pushing the pace there, but zero faith in anything positive coming out of the Steelers camp for my money.
Nez, I might have to change my tune. I'm seeing some of these options. I might want to see the Steelers in the playoffs. The Mason Rudolph led Steelers team. It's starting to sound pretty nice.
I mean, what it's so funny because like what I don't understand like what really changed is that like he has like somewhat of a better deep ball. Like it's not like Pickens got like 8 receptions in that awesome game. He just had like the Randy Moss box score of 4 for 195. Like so I still feel fine about my take that Pickens is pretty overrated. But I mean, my whole family was just like blown away. Like it's very funny.
I was also laughing with the week 16. I guess Amari doesn't fall into this bucket, but like the massive bailout that all of us just like sexy upside wide receiver chasers got with the Gabe Davis, the George Pickens, the T Higgins, even in the second round. It's like they all went nuke at the right time. And it's like, oh yeah, that's why we've been drafting them.
The Pickens and Gabe Davis one are the funniest because they were
so
doing
funny.
legit goose eggs. Like the Amari one is like kind of like, all right, at least we've seen Amari ball in the past. But like the Gabe Davis one, like he had goose eggs in 4 out of 5 straight games. And then the other game he had like 90 something yards. And then he blows up for this one in week 15 or 16, whatever it was.
So
crazy,
good.
man.
Forgot about DJ Chark too.
DJ Chark, yeah. He
Oh yeah.
wasn't his
Jesus
price
Christ.
wasn't quite in the we're gonna draft Gabe Davis at the 5-6 turn range, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to throw cold water on the Niners stuff, like
Do it.
that heavy.
I want to hear
Well,
an
Let's
Oppo
go.
take.
No, I just want to just say that the left side of the offensive line is like completely banged up, and they missed like half of last game. And then Trent Williams is limited thus far. So just something to keep your eye on. I mean, I don't think it's going to downgrade enough people to care. I just think I'm a little less bullish on Purdy this week, and I like some of the scroll quarterbacks more, but that might just be me and like an evergreen take. And now I'm looking for an excuse as to why.
Yeah,
Are you worried about Purdy? Oh, go ahead, Pete.
I was just going to say on that note, I asked JM about that. And, the one thing he brought up is that, Washington's pass rush is non-existent. So
That's
even
fair.
with these issues, that this might not be the spot. You watch what happened against the Ravens, right? And it was like, holy shit. Like they were getting through the line within a split second. Maybe they can get away with it in this spot.
And
Yeah,
I was just going to say too, part of the issue could be, if they get a defensive touchdown or, CMC just like breaks one through, Purdy's pass attempts right now on Underdog, I think are at like 30 and a half. So, more or less right now is like, banking on just being uber efficient, which is clearly in his range of outcomes against the Commanders, to juxtapose the pass attempts of only 30 and a half. He is looking at a flat 2 for passing touchdowns and 267 passing yards. So I mean, it's not all bad, but no, there's definitely some interesting decisions to make there at quarterback.
Pete, you alluded to the Derek Carr one earlier. I like the Kyler one this week. It's a little scary that he hasn't been practicing due to an illness, but just like natural correlation with McBride, I might be walking it back a little bit. They put Marquise Brown on injured reserve. Michael Wilson's done absolutely nothing. But I don't know. I'm going to be mixing in some Kyler this week. Is that insane, guys?
No, I mean, I was mixing it in last week in a far worse, I guess I shouldn't say matchup, but just not as attractive as a game environment where we know this Eagles secondary. I mean, Tyrod Taylor hooked up with Darius Slayton for a bomb. We should definitely be interested in Kyler Murray here. I don't know. I think I've only done it once or twice, honestly, with my McBride so far, but I think I should be a little bit more willing to embrace that.
It's just nice too, because he's going to go so low owned. And I guess it is a little bit harder for a QB to separate. I guess like what you can hope for is that he has like a top 3 QB score. And I mean, I think asking him to separate at the QB position is definitely asking too much, but hoping that by bypassing those other QBs and going to Kyler, that those other QBs, are grenades or landmines and they blow up. And then you end up bypass the often taking QB that only puts up 15 or 12 while Kyler's giving you 20, and you paired it with McBride, who was under owned. So I think that that's a fair thesis. And all that to say, I've taken Kyler a couple times as well, just because it's the Eagles and that's just what I do.
Yeah.
This is the cheapest price point we have ever seen for Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs mini stack. You could have it every single time in the second and third round if you want it. Might be one of the low key weather spots on the slate. There's that one. And there's
Nez,
Chicago.
hang on. Let me ask Nez if he's worried about the weather.
Wait, which spot? Which spot?
New England
just
Buffalo.
In general, man.
Oh, New England Buffalo? No, because we're Liam pilled, and this is why the Bills won't build a dome, because Josh Allen has a cannon of an arm, and it doesn't matter what the weather is because he's going to slice through 30-mile-per-hour winds. It doesn't matter.
Oh, man.
Is that something you guys want to get exploitative with this week? Potentially going to, I mean, Josh Allen has a low-key backdoor out to not only for them, getting decent playoff positioning, and I mean, they're not in the playoffs yet 100%, and they got a tough game left. I think they play Miami next week.
Yeah, they're going to have to. They're going to have to try.
Yeah. Anyways, just throwing it out there that like, hey, this should be a spot that we're jumping up and down to get to Josh Allen, who's a fringe MVP candidate here. His ADP seems weird to me.
I feel you. What's like really kind of standing out to me, and I know it's it's by like a couple points here, not but just by pure ranking, like James Cook is tied for fourth this week in ETR rankings in in half point PPR as RB4, tied with Rashad White, who is going at pick 10 overall on this slate. And we just saw James Cook just get absolutely fed last week. I wish he had more receptions there, but 20 carries on the ground. And now they're facing this New England team, which, I mean, they should have beat the brakes off the Chargers and did not. And this is a team that they should beat the brakes off in the Patriots, and hopefully they do. In this matchup, Cook is extremely like very free this week, borderline undrafted in many 6-person drafts. But yeah, no, I mean, Josh, I'm still going to Josh this week, but not going to be overweight because QB is pretty flat in general. But you can pair him with Stephon Diggs, who I know hasn't had like a wide receiver 1 game in a long time, pretty easily. It's interesting.
I'm with you, James Cook being my favorite way to play the Bills this week. I do always just have in my head, whenever I talk about stuff against New England with JM, about how they're still such like a bend, don't break defense. They'll give up points, but they just rarely give up nuke games. And I have done some naked Josh Allen, and I've done some one-off Stephon Diggs, but I don't know. For some reason, I have a blind spot with the stack this week. Like, even when it lines up for me, like if I take one of them and the other's still there, I don't like run to the podium to click it. So I'm just kind of really picking my spots. And I guess I'm saying I don't really like multiple Bills pieces this week.
Okay. On the James Cook front, you guys aren't scared that like Lenny came in and instantly took like some pass pro and some reception stuff plus goal line stuff? Like they gave Latavius goal line carries and they gave Lenny goal line carries, and they didn't give James Cook goal line carries.
I think it's fair. Worrisome, right?
Yep. I guess. Yeah, I think it's fair. It's specifically through the pass game angle, right? Like it is harder to run on New England interior. You're getting excited about James Cook in the screen game and the pass game, ripping off those big plays. Like that, I think is going to be there. But you're starting to have to thread a really tight needle, no goal line, if you start to lose some of that pass catching work. So I think it's fair. I think his talent though still gives him access to a ceiling that a lot of players in his range don't necessarily have.
Exactly, right. And if you do if you do project him for 20 plus touches, he does sort of have that home run ability to find his way into the end zone or give you a chunk play that other running backs, don't have that access to. And I would be shocked if he doesn't get a target next week, which was just very odd. He's looking at 3 flat receptions on based on Underdog projections at the moment. So I just think it for me, it's very much a cost adjusted play. Like he's RB high right now. Like he's just very, very easily to get.
Wow, I thought that was my child for a second, and then I realized
I'm so
like
sorry.
shit. No, and
No,
you know that's my
here.
life. I was just like, oh no, what's wrong with April?
Oh man, T-Law out here, man. That offense has been so dysfunctional. And
he's out.
Yeah.
Wow, I thought he was trending in the right direction.
Iron Man himself. That's tough.
He played through 2 things last week. Like he played through the ankle, and the head, and then someone said something about a shoulder that was undiagnosed too. So pretty crazy. Yeah, Ingram season right here. Ingram had like something absurd last week in terms of targets. I want to say 15.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
And then someone else in the chat said that we're looking at a doubtful Jacobs, which I think obviously
just came through
up for Zamir.
Yeah, the doubtful. I can confirm that Underdog just tweeted it. Yeah.
So let's talk about the T-Law stuff, specifically as it pertains to the Jags, right? Because we now have this setup against one of the worst run defenses, one we've been picking on all year. The entire pass game is hurt. The quarterback's not playing. Like, how do you not saddle up Travis Etienne with 20 plus touches in this spot?
I mean, he's averaged, 3 yards per carry for basically the entire season outside of the first 2 weeks that he exploded. I don't know if he's 100% right either, right? Like he came back after that ankle thing and then just kind of hasn't been the same. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think you have to. I think the price is palatable and he'll definitely be in my player pool, but it's a guy that I'm like, I think I'd rather be overweight Swift. I'd rather be overweight Cook than be overweight Travis Etienne this week.
I hear you, but just seeing the ghost of Aaron Jones putting up 121 rushing yards last week
Yeah,
on
that's
this,
fair.
that's the only thing I needed to see. I that's
Yeah.
all I needed to see. And it's weird because Travis Etienne, I wish I bookmarked this tweet. I need to start doing that more. But I think his advanced stats on like breaking tackles is still like really elite. So it's just kind of weird. I don't know. I wish he was getting more volume. I wish we could kind of bank on the volume for ETN. Obviously, it's a little harder to do that when his last few games, 16 touches, and then 9 touches against Tampa Bay, but that was in the middle of a beatdown. So I think you could kind of spin the narrative that, hey, Carolina's been like a run defense that we've attacked with the running back position, and no Lawrence. I think that does that to me makes ETN a very, very attractive target if I'm not rolling the 101 or 102 this week.
All right, John, I guess I know where you're going to be on this side, ETN or Swift.
Did you guys see Noah's tweet about Swift?
No, what did he say?
He said, if the field was 99 yards, this is who DeAndre Swift is. And it's a picture of LaDainian Tomlinson.
That's so hilarious.
It's so good.
This is actually bodes well because ever since Noah went in on Breece Hall, he's been scorching the earth. So if he could just pile on DeAndre Swift a little more, that would be a good key indicator for me to pack my bags this weekend.
Did you see him last night? He just said, I know Breece Hall is reading this tweet right now.
Yeah.
I love that
he's
little
a good follow.
Yeah, dude, that's I'm so glad he's leaning into that bit. But no, I do really like DeAndre Swift this week too. It's hard not to against this Arizona defense. Not really much to say other than he just keeps getting rugged on the tush push.
I mean, it's kind of fine to pair those two together too. I mean, the pass game work isn't as beautiful as we've seen, but like we literally just saw this with Fields last week, right? Like Fields basically played that entire game without his number one wide receiver and his number one tight end. And, Fields gets home on the ground, and then they just ran the ball a shit ton with Herbert, and Herbert gets home on the ground too. Like you just skinny stack those two together and just play that as like you crush the Cardinals on the ground, and there's 3 touchdowns right there.
Yeah, I mean, totally. You think about the combined touchdown expectation of Hurts and Swift. It's massive there. I mean, like those guys in this spot could easily combine for 4 tutties.
Yeah, it feels fine. Yeah, like if they this is a team too that hasn't been winning convincingly lately. I feel like they're due for like a big time ass whooping. What better team to give it to?
Dude, I low key believe in these narratives where like players get it in their head that they're still live for certain awards and stuff like that too. Like you don't think Jalen Hurts is sitting here like, okay, I had that flu game. Like we lost a bad game against Seattle. Let me just like put that one behind us. Dak's out of the running right now. Purdy just threw himself out of the running last week. I'm still in this thing, and he just comes out and like balls the F out in a game that they're supposed to smash, and he just like pads his stats with like 5 more, like point night. Here we go.
I love it. I do think it is. I mean, another guy, like we've had weeks, right? The market has kind of capitulated on Devonta Smith, right? Like he had been one of those guys I felt was overdrafted a lot of weeks, like pretty nice spot. He's going like ADP 14, 15, and not to be rude, but sometimes in that offense, he can be like fancy Gabe Davis, relative to his ADP, where the ceiling is there, but the way this offense is functioning and the way they operate around the goal line, it's like he does have to just hit on a big play to get there. Now, I actually think the ADP is far more palatable this week, and I have no problem doing, Hurts and Devonta stacks.
Are you okay with if you do Hurts, Devontae, and you're staring at Goddard in like the 6th or 5th? Would you add Goddard to a double?
It feels like the spot, like just on paper, macro strategy, I'd be like, but how is it really that different from the the Flacco Amari, Njoku type spot? I think in BR, I would err on skinny, especially with Jalen Hurts, right? Because
yeah,
it's just really hard. You probably need him to throw for 3 TDs, 2 to one of them, 1 to the other. And it's just like, how many times is he going to get to 3 passing tutties in this version of the offense? I love that though. And like we're talking about the fullback dive, the bomb, like Hurts in round 1, you get, a couple other guys in there and then a backdoor kind of Devonta Goddard stack. Like that sounds nice to me.
Yeah.
All day for me.
Like that a lot. Any scroll the F down varieties at any position you guys care to mention, or shall we hop in some drafts?
I could throw a few out. I mentioned I wrote up the Fields Kmet stuff. Fields' ADP has inched up a little bit since I wrote that piece. I think DeAndre Hopkins is a phenomenal one this week. Obviously the CEH stuff, but we already talked about it. You just now draft Pacheco. The other guy who is mispriced is Michael Pittman. This is a guy the market just like loves drafting at ADP 16. He newsflash practice in full, like he's good to go, and he still has an ADP where he's not getting drafted in most of these.
What the fuck happened last week? Where like he was concussion protocol. He got out of concussion protocol. We got so excited. He was so mispriced. We drafted the shit out of him, and then all of a sudden he gets the shoulder thing, and then he gets ruled out on a Saturday. Not even a game time decision there. And then this week he's back in concussion protocol. Like, did we get a false concussion protocol narrative or something?
No, because I wrote that one up for the newsletter. So he had like whiplash symptoms, like in the way this concussion stuff works often. And I was reading about it with the CJ Stroud and the light sensitivity. Like you have moments that are better than other moments. So he passed the concussion protocol at one stage. They had like an independent neurologist, and then he came down with more symptoms. I think it was right before they're about to travel. And so he was like, got just a huge wave of stuff with the headaches and whatever. So yeah, it wasn't like a false thing. He like legitimately relapsed with the concussion symptoms.
Jeez. That's scary.
I mean, that hit was brutal, man.
Yeah. He's like full horizontal, like a foot off the ground.
Yeah.
Embarrassing amount of Steeler fans like saying he threw a hospital ball. Like, what do you expect? Like, I don't know. Like, don't decapitate the guy. I guess. Like, is that too much to ask? I don't know.
I love if there's a fan base that's experts on hospital balls. It's the fans who watched Ben Roethlisberger and Kenny Pickett over the last decade.
Yeah.
Let us tell you that shit's gonna happen.
If they can be completely unbiased judges on illegal hits, it's watching Hines Ward for 12 years. Yeah, I'm sure.
Hey, he's on the offensive side of the ball, man. Keep your head on a swivel, bud. For me, man, it is the wide receiver 5 in targets of the last 3 weeks of my scroll the F down, and it's of the John variety. Baker doubles with Chris Godwin.
Okay.
How about a little like it takes a little, Rome wasn't built in a day narrative with Godwin and Baker, it's their first year playing together. Takes a little bit of time to build a rapport, and look at those targets of the last 3 weeks going against the Saints. That this is like kind of shaping up to be low key a shootout thanks to the Bucks defense just allowing other teams to do what they want. Chris Godwin is absolutely free.
I like that call. I like this game a lot. I even think Rachaad White and Mike Evans are maybe even still a smidge underpriced, just relative to how concentrated they are. And I'm with you, dude. I love this game environment. You get no Lattimore. I was listening to the OWS Edge write-up. Like the Saints run D has fallen off more in the past 5 weeks than any other run defense relative to what they had done at the beginning of the year. So I'm kind of throwing that stuff out. Like, I wish this was in the Dome in New Orleans, I think would be my only other preference. But outside of that, man, I think this game could be hot.
Yeah, and they're potentially missing 2 safeties too. They're missing Johnson for sure, and they're missing someone. They might be missing the other one too. So
Matthew, or are you talking Bucks?
No, not Matthew. The other, no, I'm talking about the other safety. Fuck, I can't remember his name right now.
Mm.
New Orleans. You put me on the spot of not knowing ball.
I gotta
Yeah.
point out this like hand on the cranium take from our boy Johnny Footballs, aka Johnny Basketballs, talking about Michael Pittman here. Could be more of a flying travel thing. The air pressure of flying is probably the worst thing you could do after a bad concussion. He had to delay a vacation after a concussion. I will say, Johnny, every time I get on a plane, and before we even take off, and they're just like giving you the speech about how to buckle your seatbelt and what to do if the plane crashes, I start to get that preemptive headache. So I think Johnny might be onto something with that hand on the cranium take. We got to let these guys travel in the protocol before we get them in the clear.
In 2023, we all became weather experts. We got our farmer's almanac out. We figured out it was an El Nino year. The weather in Cleveland was going to be a little bit more mild. In 2024, we all become concussion experts. We develop our own standards of emerging from the protocol. I think this is the new meta, guys.
Call me Will Smith, baby.
Probably better than the independent scientists that Robert Goodell hires.
Yo, here we go.
Over here.
Matt's son's middle name is Baker. That's the narrative we're looking for. There we go.
Love it. Should we hop in something here?
Yeah, unless there's any other
something?
Kind of. You mentioned the Hopkins ones. I like the Hopkins ones, obviously. Do we think there's any reason to go to the Shrout stuff? Like, we may not get a discount on Shrout plus Nico or Shrout plus Noah Brown like this ever again.
Yeah, I feel bad we kind of overshadowed this. That's an awesome one. I mean, extremely affordable in ADP. Yeah, you gotta love that. I mean, this is a beautiful matchup for Stroud as well, and Nico back. No, yeah, that's a fault in our game. I forgot to bring that up. That's an awesome call.
The other one too is DJ Moore isn't going in all drafts right now. So if you want to just flip that Komet, take away that Q tag, and just do those fields with more ones, that makes a lot of sense to me too. And the other side of that game, Drake London feels nice too.
I like it.
Nobody likes Drake London.
Not really. Yeah. I think it's fine. It just, it definitely gets into that territory of like, he strikes me as more of a goal line stand play of need. Cause it's like, do I need to take Drake London when I can just take DeAndre Hopkins and no one is going to have either? And I like the spot so much more for Nuke, but okay, I get it.
Yeah. The Nuke one's good. And then the running back one, shit, I just clicked away from it. I had someone that I liked. It was Achan. I'm so glad you said that. I'm going back to the Achan. Well, it's like if you're gonna find a way to, I mean, they looked really good against Niners last week. You're not gonna take that away from this Ravens team, and they're finally almost fully healthy on the defensive side. But like, if there's a dude who can break the slate with a 30+ ADP that only needs 9 touches to do it, yeah.
Yep, I'm with you on that, and I still think Mostert isn't, 100% either. And I actually literally just saw he's officially listed as questionable with both a knee and an ankle. So, and you think about too, the Ravens, like the way they were using CMC too, right? I mean, they're trying to get him out in space. You don't really want to run on that interior line. I mean, Mostert's TD expectation is still awesome, but like it feels like a game without Waddle where you need that other playmaker. Like if they're going to go toe to toe with these guys in a 30-point back and forth shootout, like Achan has to be a big part of that.
Love it.
Good shot.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. I'm going to pull up the utilization stuff for Achan because I believe he is like trending in a positive direction as well. Let me just do the straight up. I was gonna compare, but let me just see like where he's trending in terms of like targets and routes. So 44% of routes, 11% targets last week. I agree that he's definitely gonna have to be in the game plan, right? Like they're trying to win games. Like they're not really resting on any laurels as far as the playoff picture goes. They can still earn a bye if they win out, I think, and the Ravens maybe lose another game on top of it. So the running back pool I think is really deep, and it does seem like we say this every week where it's like get your top end wideouts, maybe mix in a top end tight end. QB is deep. Take who you get. Running back is deep. If you miss out on CMC, take who you get.
Yeah.
We get to have the fun kind of like CMC Niners discussion that I've been running into when you take CMC 101. So this will be good.
Absolutely.
See if we can.
Dude, is it crazy? Like, the Browns have lost some of the most talent in the league this season, and they're 11-5 and 5-0 with Joe Flacco. Like, that's crazy, right?
It's just like unbelievable that this version of Joe Flacco, like, it's not like Joe Flacco was doing this before, and now he's back and he's like doing it again. Like,
it's not. They didn't get Brady. They didn't get Brady. Like,
it's low key a testament to like the back in my day bros that are like all these like we had it so good with these elite quarterbacks, and we really did have it good with the quarterbacks like 5 years ago that were in the league, and like you just put one of those old quarterbacks in that golden age like back in this game and with these rules, and then they just light it up. Like Brady's probably seeing Flacco do this and
Rich Gannon.
Let me warm up the arm a little bit here. Rich Gannon.
Oh man, our guy Clay saying he's on the Ayuk stuff this week. Clay, they got good news for you in North Carolina. Saw a tweet floating around this morning that Underdog making a push for North Carolina there.
Let's go.
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm surprised Clay. Like, I bet Clay had to do all this research this week about week 17 because he was so week 16 pilled. Now he's finally getting into the swing of things because we all have week 17 on like the back of our hands.
Clay just learned that the Niners play the Commanders. I mean, he was so dialed in on his Ravens bringbacks. I mean, he had Kyle Juszczyk, Nelson Aguilar stuff dialed up earlier this offseason.
I know he did a spit take. And John talking about the tight end matchup. I know he's loving this Noah Gray stuff as well.
There you go. Yeah, I got this out of the corner of my eye. Sweden's a wagon, man. Sweden's a wagon. They're the favorites in the tournament for a reason.
Go talk butter tarts with Sanderson. Leave that out
here. Miss me on those.
Yeah, miss me on that butter tart bullshit.
I'm not a butter tart guy for what it's worth.
All right, you're back in our good graces. You're an honorary American.
I'm probably closer.
John's more American than
Canadian.
Me.
Yeah, I'm pretty. I'm a red state guy,
Okay, rally. This draft is crawling.
Yeah, what is going on? Are we in a early 2024 draft right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
all
so
right,
this is what you would expect. Like, this is like what I'm seeing.
Ayuk at the 4-5 or at the 1-2 turn. What are we doing?
Dusty stacking it up, double San Fran.
He knew he was actually might have gotten past us after. Okay, White
and Puka to fall to us. Is there any scare? Like, are we scared that Puka doesn't do anything because of the hip thing?
No, the only
gift.
other.
This is what you call in your language, John, a GM. But go ahead, Pete.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I think Chris Olave is like slightly overpriced, and yet I love the Derek Carr stuff so much that I have been just capitulating and taking him in this range. Okay. Partly because I am okay with either Kittle or McBride, and sometimes you'll be able to get those guys coming back too. But I'm down for one of the tight ends for sure as well.
Nez, break the tie.
Let's go Trey.
All right.
We can just do Rashid Shaheed later.
And we like we like Trey. We like Trey more than Kittle. I think that was like our consensus right there. I queued up Trey. Is it because we had CMC that we prefer him, or do we prefer him in a vacuum?
I think it's really close for me. I honestly think if I have no Niners, I go Kittle there. But with CMC, I definitely prefer McBride.
Okay.
Nez?
I'm McBride in the vacuum. Yeah. For me, Kittle just screams like in these like non-competitive environments. I just don't see him having the monster game that McBride can have. Like I would be really interested if there was ever a rivals pick 'em between McBride and Kittle for receptions, like what that spread would be.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. It's crazy that we had that situation right there at the corner, and we didn't even contemplate Josh Allen plus Diggs to go with CMC. Whereas, like, if this is week 3 or whatever, we would have been lucky to. We would have been, hey, GM on the Diggs plus Allen.
Yeah, you get people crying for Neumy on that one back in the day, but now it's just like I don't know what to think of this new Diggs. You know, these Diggs results that we're getting. I hope it's not like a downswing. You know, for Diggs. You know, the age cliff. You know, just like taking no prisoners. I'm hoping it's just the fact that the Bills just have a very strangely built offense, and he's like really the like the far and away like the guy to concentrate on for defenses.
I don't know, man. I just keep. Yeah, I don't have a good rebuttal to it, Nez. I don't. I just, my stupid brain just sees Allen plus Diggs sitting there, and I want to click it. I don't know why it hasn't been successful. I don't know why Diggs is underperforming. I don't know if it goes back to those quotes in the offseason where there was a disgruntled relationship between the two of them to begin with. I have no idea what plays into it, but I don't know.
This is a pretty sharp room right now, I will say. Only one QB going. There goes Darren Waller. But
we could do Allen and James Cook, and then do a scroll at wide receiver. Open to any ideas, gentlemen.
Let's do a scroll at quarterback. Go ahead.
Okay.
I was gonna say Lamar and Zay.
All right, do it. All right, do it.
Lamar and Zay.
Yeah,
with Achan, log out.
Wait,
ship it.
Yeah, like Do you want to do?
Okay.
Do you want to?
Let's do it. Let's do Achan first.
Okay.
Because I think he's got a better chance of going than Zay.
Now that we have this injury clarity, like I'm going to be really excited to hop in the goal line stand streets. It makes me feel a lot better now that we have like the Jacobs doubtful. It makes the decisions a lot easier in the goal line stand. Excited to get back in there, which is a pretty juicy 5K to first.
Pete, what was your scroll if you wanted to do the scroll at quarterback one?
Oh, I mean, I would have been down to do Fields, DJ Moore, Derek Carr, Rashid Shaheed. That's pretty thin. CJ Stroud. Yeah, if we hadn't had McBride, I guess it's not like a double scroll down, right? Some of those pairings are getting drafted, but like the Nico Stroud stuff is real hot right now.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, Nico Stroud and Fields, DJ Moore piqued my attention out of those ones.
I was hoping we were going to get a pretty nice discount on Stroud, but the field was not sleeping at all on that.
No.
And also, just for the record, comparing Kittle and McBride in the pick'em lobbies, 4 for 51.5 for Kittle. McBride is 6.5 for 66.5.
Wow.
Okay. Huh.
Pretty stark difference.
This is the funniest comment ever. Why am I supposed to roll out a Caucasian quarterback? We got to target him with Zay Flowers, baby. We got to target him with Zay Flowers. We're double stacking Odell this week.
The Rashard Mendenhall theory. Let's go.
Yeah.
Oh God, there's hand in the dirt. Sometimes you got to get your hand in the ethnicities.
Oh, so good, man.
They're gonna rip our sponsorship away from us.
I low-key thought Scary Terry as a scroll the F down. We've talked about how the Niners kind of like let you throw on them because you're forced to throw on them in like trailing scripts and stuff. And we saw him get home with Jacoby Brissett, blah, blah, blah. Jacoby Brissett popped up on the injury report today, and that was kind of scary out of nowhere. I might have to start him in the finals of 2 QB league here. It's him or Mason.
I want you guys to all know behind the scenes, John is just this, on this show, he comes across as just, this game theory bro, ruthless, all this stuff behind the scenes. He's just this big old teddy bear asking start sit questions for all of his home leagues. Who do I start? It's really endearing.
It's true, man. Zay Flowers, 13 targets last week. Stack him up with Lamar in the last round there. We didn't get James Cook to go. We didn't get.
Jeez.
Oh, shoot. That was my first one of the week. Shit, I was trying to. I lost the draft board. I wanted to see who we didn't get to go yet. Because there was Cook that was still sitting there. It was kind of like this 20. This isn't going to do us any good.
Well, fun exercise at home. Save your draft board and check out the pick 'em projections on these undrafted guys, because I think it does kind of tell quite the tale as far as the difference between these projections versus the draft percentages. We say it all the time, but it's still I think on this slate more than anything it really holds true.
Yeah, and I will say, like, I do think the McBride one is not the best example of this because he does have such a good median and ceiling projection. But I think, someone like Kittle, we know how polarized it is, right? Like, dude could have 3 or 4, or he could have 30. And that's why when we build our pick'ems, like a guy like McBride or Njoku last night, like when we took his 5.5 receptions, it feels good. It's like the floor is so high, where someone like Kittle, it's like, I'd rather draft the shit out of him in BR or maybe spice him up and pick him, but not take his like yards, because it's there's so much volatility there.
Yep. Yeah. Evergreen. We've been, saying that a lot on when we build these pick'ems, which, speaking of, is it time?
We just got a huge news dump first, though. Cortland Sutton out. Not sure it matters when they're going away from Russ Wilson in that game. I don't think anyone wants anything of Denver, right? They're not. Yeah. No.
Dude, I've heard some people like talk about Jerry Jeudy, but that guy, he just sucks, man.
All right.
He trick us. He just run around out there.
And then the Mostert one, which hit on the chat there, Will Levis officially not on the injury report.
It's great.
So assume they go back to starting him there, which plays in nicely to cover boy DeAndre Hopkins. Zay Flowers officially listed as questionable with a calf. He's got, I just checked, DNP, haven't seen the Friday report yet. So, I mean, that might be 3 DNPs and a questionable tag for Zay. So that might be, I don't know. Is there someone else? Maybe Isaiah Likely becomes kind of like a better back end stack with Lamar there.
I think almost regardless, Likely, he falls into that batch of, Lamar isn't a guy that you have to force correlation with necessarily, but to do it really cheap at the lowest scoring position makes a ton of sense. I mean, I think it's like the same play as the Fields Kmet. He's had a pretty safe floor too. Like if you just want to talk about like scoring points at the tight end position, it's like 8 targets every single week and 5 catches since he's been there. And then the volatility is just if he scores a touchdown or not. And then the 2 Seahawks guys officially listed as questionable. The Ken Walker one is shoulder and illness, and DK Metcalf's back, which is different than what he's been listed all year with. It had fluctuated between hamstring and something else. Yep.
Yeah, maybe a little JSN, a little sneaky JSN. Mix it in
Dude,
there.
I'm losing my Tyler Lockett projection. That guy coming off an 11 target game. Leone couldn't help himself but bullishly project him. No, but I think you can do one-off Seahawks wide receiver this week for sure.
Are we calling it? Are we saying this is the week? This is finally the week that JSN breaks 65 yards receiving. This is it.
Ugh.
Man,
I hope so.
down horrendous. Thank God. I don't have any best ball finals teams to worry about there. Thank God. That's a blessing.
Shout out to the Pound. Did a nice playoff show the other day with Eagles. Go check that one out if you haven't. Okay, where's our starting spot? Where's our building block? Do we want to do game environment first, or do we want to do some of our individual plays and or spices?
I think we got to do all 3. Game environment From the gut and an allspice. We're too on fire with these. We're close. We're circling.
Yeah, the shots on goal have just been insane.
Okay, if I were to pitch game environment, stop me if you heard this one before. I might pitch Bucks Saints as underpriced game environment. Let's
do it.
Okay.
Because it works out it works out so well of you do like Rashad and Evans on one side and a Derek Carr double on the other kind of thing.
Okay. The other one that I would pitch would be Tennessee and Houston, because I think the Houston stuff will be underprojected right now relative to Shrout's health and relative to Will Levis being ruled in.
It's definitely higher worthy. I checked it out before the show, so I like.
Okay,
I like
so which do you guys prefer there? You guys prefer the Bucks
Saints
one,
and
or
Bucks first?
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Thorman has this one in the pace up column too, and you start to factor in those injuries. You start to factor in motivation stuff for the playoff seeding for both of these teams. The Saints still have an outsized or an outside chance to get in too if they win out. They need some help, but I think everything lines up for this game to be pretty good.
Okay. I like it. Olave, Shaheed, and Carr on this side. Maybe Juwan Johnson.
What's Olave's number? I should just
Olave had 70.5 on the receiving. You get a discount if you want to put in the rushing. I guess he's a candidate for a large negative rush.
Oh yeah,
I guess. I don't know. I've never seen that go the other way so steeply. 5 catches though.
I think I lean yards with Olave.
Okay.
I guess 2 weeks ago against Carolina, he went 4 for 28 and 1. But the other 2 games sandwiched in there, he had 5 receptions against Detroit for 119 yards and 9 for 123. His ADOT is just so good that I like getting that yardage out.
Noteworthy that he was limited this week, but no designation, and he was coming off an injury from previous weeks. I think it's just a maintenance thing when there's no like actual, ankle or whatever. I think it's just like kind of like vet days off, but he's out there.
I think the Shaheed yards is just so nice. I mean, since he came back, he's gone over this number both weeks.
Like it. Nez?
No, I really like it. But I know that we're doing a pickup segment, but John, I just need you to know that Donovan Mitchell has tweeted.
Oh shit!
Sorry, I just had to.
What does that mean?
So
it means
when he tweets hashtag let him know, the Cavs, like, they get that cute little like logo on their Twitter hashtag. When he tweets let him know when he's a true questionable, he always plays. It's just a little something for the degens out there.
I love that.
He's played 84 out of 85 times when he's tweeted this.
Wow.
And he's been sick for like 10 days or something like that. And Underdog just retweeted. He just said, "Y'all know the drill," with the retweet of the Donovan Mitchell one.
So go build your SGPs with Donovan Mitchell hires generational wealth opportunity. You heard it here first. No one else is on it.
Correct. Love Shaheed yards, by the way. Always been a Shaheed believer. And he could do this in one play.
Holy smokes! Portland ruled everyone out.
Let's we just got to put. I know I like Nez's call on Godwin in BR, but then when we're looking in the pick'em and his yardage is now within 6 or whatever of Evans. Give me the Evans there. Are you on board with that, Nez?
Yeah. Evans is a really nice pick'em here. I was surprised, honestly, that it's as close as it is.
Evans also just has been a total workhorse for the off and on the clock pick'ems, dude. I mean, this guy carries these things on his back every week.
That he's so much so that Oaks and Neumy are behind the scenes right now, removing the spicy Mike Evans.
Yeah,
and I swear there was one before the show started. There was a spicy Mike Evans. There will be one after this, but they know the drill in the same way the Underdog Twitter account knows the drill right now to remove it while we are on the clock.
So Man, I wish they were giving us a Rachaad White fantasy points
Yeah,
because
get
I
a little bit of
love
that
having the
touchdown
3
equity.
outs. Yeah.
I kind of like the receiving yards though. Like his role in the receiving game is
Yeah.
so strong, and the script in which we're projecting here is somewhat of the trailing nature when you go the
Yeah.
quarterback on the other side. So that's where I would lean with him.
Yeah. This is
What do we
definitely
got with
getting
Baker?
nuked.
236 and a half, 21 and a half completions. We got an interception. We got a fumble. Nothing touchdown. Nothing fantasy point.
I will say
Well,
this is one of the just what we have in. You can see right now. We're definitely getting the big correlation dings here. Not that I don't like it, but it's a pretty big doc.
Yeah, because this 2 weeks ago this would have been a 20x, and now we're
Yeah.
sitting at 12 and a half.
Yeah.
they're saying we broke the games.
Yeah,
And you're saying. Okay. The only other thing I would say is the Baker pass attempts, but that is like a little high.
Ooh.
He's not typically doing that. So
If I refresh, will this all go away?
It shouldn't.
hold on.
no.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Do we like 13? Thank you for that, Bonza. Do we like 13.85
Well,
fantasy points
let me
more than
put
receiving
put it
yards?
put it in and put it out and see what the payout if it changes at all from that
Ooh,
12.48.
good shout. This is where you come for these sharp ass takes. Same thing.
Yeah. I like both. I mean, Rachaad White past 3 games receiving 38, 50, 33. I mean, Nez, do you have a lean?
I think fantasy points. I'm always going to be like a fantasy points preferer though.
Yeah.
Gives you the touchdown out.
Yeah, I like, it's like putting a condom on it, So that's always my thing.
All right, we good with this one?
Yeah.
I like it. I would.
I like this one a lot just from the script.
Pete, do you mind if I send you a Venmo?
Oh yeah.
All
How
right.
much you want on this? 50?
Yeah.
All right. Last time I did 2 individual slips. This time I'm just gonna I'll put us both down for 50 here.
Love it.
That one goes in the chat there.
Yeah. All right. Now the from the gut, who we think's mispriced in the BR streets.
I kind of want to start with ETN. Is that an all? I mean, just a peek. We don't have to. I just want to take a peek.
I typed in Travis because I kind of wanted to start with Kelsey.
2 birds, one stone.
Here we go.
Yeah, the Travis parlay.
Oof. I guess the only thing I would like for ETN is 60 rushing yards, but even then, it's not. That doesn't feel good.
I definitely think if you do ETN, that's what you do.
Yeah, we could pass. I just wanted to take a peek.
Well, let's compare it. What is? Or sorry, I don't want to move on from the all Travis theme. Give us the sell on which one of those. I was just going to compare him to Swift. Is it pretty similar?
69.5 on the rushing for Swift.
Yeah,
9.5 receiving yards. Holy smokes! Just fully take him out of the pass game, huh?
Yeah, dude. He has little to no involvement, which is really upsetting. They run a really really generic offense over there in Philly right now.
It's crazy because early in the season when they were on those island games and he scored 25, 30 fantasy points in 2 of those games or whatever, and we all got excited about him. It's because he was so heavily involved in the pass game. He was getting 5-6 catches. They had those little design screens for him, run that little Texas route out of the backfield and stuff. And
yeah,
it's just all that stuff's dissipated now for some reason.
Yeah.
So with ETN, I mean, his snap share has been pretty consistent. And if anything, it's trending up since week 13, where since week 13, 63, 77, 69, 72% of snap shares, has the lion's share of rushing attempts. But it's just a matter of what do you think that he can do on the ground against the Panthers? I don't know why I was hoping Like if that was like 58.5, it just would have felt better. But
Right.
I don't know.
Nez,
I don't think it's anything we have to play.
not to get off track, but you could wait until the end of these pick'ems to set. You don't have to send me a Venmo for each individual one. I assume you're going to want action on that. I was like, it says you got a gift from AJ.
I love sending my Venmos via gifts. You got to look at the animation. It's very cute.
Yeah.
And it's for April College Fund.
That's such bad juju. You don't pay until you lose because Pete's going to be transferring that money back to you this week. That's why the spicy didn't get home, Nez. You paid for your bet before the bet had closed.
Because I'm a good guy.
I am worried about Nez going on the run here after this hit.
I'm a ghost.
Off and on the run.
So yeah, I guess have we found something we absolutely love?
Maybe of the Hopkins variety.
What's he at? Man, I need to just pull this up on my screen.
60.5 receiving yards, no catches, one. He's got a 1.5 spicy one. That might be in consideration to pair with the McBride spice.
Yeah, I guess his ADOT with Levis is insane. Like he was having like 200 air yard games with him. It's definitely a boom bust kind of thing.
Yeah, like the classic, what do you win when you win? I want to take a look at if they have any Achan stuff or any Tyreek now that Tyreek's just always going to have this monster projection.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys been watching that in-season Hard Knocks?
Here just and there. Clips, I see. Is it fun?
We started it the other night. I just watched the first 2 episodes. I think Mike McDaniel's is like, I don't know. I said to Nez that like
careful.
I said to Nez that he's like the trust fund baby. They got the keys to the place, and then it's like he has no idea what he's doing. So he's just kind of like socially awkward and just like swears a bunch to make himself feel cool. And then you actually know he actually knows what he's doing behind closed doors and like takes it all over, and you gain respect for him that way. But like I think he's kind of a dweeb.
He is in that that checks out with, when I talked to Coach Speak Index, who's literally watched every second of Mike McDaniel pressers this year. And he's like, everyone sees the clips and like the best moments, but this dude is out here dad joking and trying to be funny in every single one. And he's like, yeah, he does have some hits. Those are the ones you see online, but he's getting a lot of shots on goal, and that adds up in a pretty cringe way.
Yeah, exactly. Like I find him hard to watch. Like
yeah, it is a little uncomfortable.
Don't meet your heroes. Just consume the Twitter clips. Is the GTO Mike McDaniel route? What do you got for us, Nez?
Yeah, it's another tried and true play of mine. Rashee Rice, 6 receptions, and it's a higher.
Okay.
Rashee Rice, 6 receptions, higher. Okay. Yeah, I mean they're missing so many pass catchers this week. Man, I like some of this Baltimore side stuff. Like Isaiah Likely 7-6 feels really nice, especially if you factor in that Zay Flowers may not go right now. Like, yeah, there's a little something there. And then this Gus bus not fighting with anyone in the backfield, 40.5. I know Miami's defense has been improved and better on the ground recently. 40.5 seems low just for that game environment.
Yeah, his usage has just been so herky-jerky.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me
6 attempts, 16, 9.
What did he do against the Niners? 6 attempts? Is that what it was?
9 for 30, but he got involved in the pass. I wish we had, honestly, the fantasy points angle too, just so you could capture the touchdown maybe. I guess that's honestly, I think I would feel more comfortable just playing the touchdown, but you're not even getting a spice on it.
Right.
And he doesn't correlate well, necessarily with Likely. Like Likely is certainly helping us with a touchdown there.
I might be snoozing on this Justice Hill 61% last game.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
wow.
in the small sample since week 14, he is out snapping him, but Gus is leading in the rush attempts. But long down and distant in 2 minutes, it's been all Justice Hill. I think we don't have to do this, man, but one of my favorite clicks in the gauntlets right now is Nelson Aguilar who is at like a measly 16 and a half receiving yards and is like
I got 14 and a half.
He's like usurped Bateman in this offense. I'm just saying. I just needed to get that out there. We don't need
I'm just gonna put in a rule of max 1 Raven on this pick'em that we're building right now.
Extremely fair and warranted.
I mean, I kind of like it too, Nez, where like you look at 63% of the routes there. Low A dot, obviously, because that's kind of the player he is, but I mean, not traditionally, but this year at least.
How about this? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say you bake in a little bit of leverage there if with the same thing with if you get Nose.
Mm-hmm. All right, who else we got? So we got Likely and Rice, which I do enjoy. Do we want to go
like
5?
Likely.
I like Likely. Let's do Likely. Yeah. I think we should put McBride in. We're gonna do a spice in the spice, but I think we should do either his receptions or his receiving yards here as well.
Prefer the yardage.
Yep.
No issues from me on McBride yardage.
Okay. Yeah. The other one I was going to bring up is Evan Ingram with that whole pass game being banged up and the fact that he just gets double-digit targets every single week. Can see what he's getting, if he's getting anything right now. 52.5, or maybe that spice 1.5 might be a fun one to pair with the Trey McBride spice after.
Yeah.
These makers have no idea what to do with his receptions. I don't see anything anywhere for Evan Ingram receptions.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're shook right now.
Let's do I just saw the report. Nico Collins fully off the injury report. This is a pristine matchup at home. Stroud's back. 59.5 is too low.
Right. I think this entire, like, you can, I know we did our game environment play, but I mean, Stroud's sitting at like 265 or 258.
Oh, yeah. Man. We will get a doc on this one. It'll go down from 20 to 16, but I have no problem with it. I think it makes sense. We
can just keep it in mind. We can keep browsing. But that was something that stuck out to me.
For sure. I guess there's like, honestly, like with how bad this concussion shit is, and since we're all now concussion experts, like there is like a little risk. I think
he's not off the hook
yet. CJ Stroud for having.
Let's CJ Stroud put his helmet on first and like get that without like getting vertigo, and then we can feel safe. Another one that I will say, which is like mad dusty. I haven't seen Michael Wilson numbers yet, but
no, I just meant in general, not with this McBride one, but the Michael Wilson one and the JSN one I like, but I didn't see anything for JSN. Yeah, go ahead, Ness. Sorry.
Mad dusty. I'm probably gonna get pushed back here, but Zeke 4.5 receptions against the Bills. Potential, most likely trailing game script.
7, 5, and 9 the past 3 weeks. You're not going to get pushback from me.
Right. Ben Gretsch, may have heard of him, called him legitimately one of the highest floors out there right now.
Yeah. All right. Should he be in our BR pool more heavily? Like someone was dropping it in the chat earlier. I hadn't given him much thought.
Goal line stand, I think he's a smash, but.
All right. And this gets us up to our 20X here.
Cool.
All right, Nez. Send over another Venmo, buddy. I'm kidding. Yeah, chill.
I send it in bulk, man.
All right, this one's booked. And now, for everyone's favorite portion of the show, we really need some spice music.
Transition producer?
Yeah.
Can we get like some mariachi music or
spice it up?
I want some like flamenco dancers coming out on screen.
Maybe a little oh god. Just a clip from Hot Ones or something,
Yeah. You can't handle the heat.
Yeah, this is the one. Spice up your life.
Oh, that's good. Let's buy the rights for that. Every boy and every
girl.
I can't see any spices. I can window shop regular pick'ems over here, but I can't do any spices. So you guys are on your own. But the old trick of just typing in TDs and pulling up what we can.
Yeah. I mean, we're
Odell,
starting
2.5.
Oh my God. Let's start with McBride, right? Like we're getting this 2x from McBride in here.
Yeah, it's about damn time he pulled through for us. He is currently the reverse Mike Evans, but that's where it changes. This week is when it changes.
This is about to go down to 1.25 in a matter of seconds.
Another guy that we have already used that I wouldn't mind further correlating via Spice, the Olave at 1.5x doesn't look bad to me. I'm just scrolling right now too.
I do like that a lot.
I like Olave. I like Hopkins. I like Nico Collins.
What's the Hopkins one at?
1.5.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Toss him.
Like
he's
that
catching
one.
2 bombs from Levis this week.
I like that shout.
Not necessarily in this pick'em, but I do wonder if we see Tajay Spears unleashed finally. I mean, they keep edging us with these 50% snap shares and double-digit touches. Like, let's get this guy up to 75 and 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Can you correlate these?
No.
Oh my God,
Absolutely
John.
Not. Come on,
see
dude.
that? You see that Kyle Pitts spicy marg? two in the last 3.
Don't call it a heater. Don't call it a heater.
2.5x. Just saying.
Gift wrapping.
Who's the
Godwin
QB there now?
The thing that we've been in, despite the Trey McBride one ripping our hearts out, we've done a good job of not putting any in that have been like brutal sweats where you're just like Trey McBride was very live to score a touchdown in that game. Like we don't do like the true Hail Mary ones. Like most of these would be an enjoyable sweat if you're like, I want to fire up this game and see if Chris Olave gets a TD.
That being said, how insane is it that DeMarcus Robinson is only 1.75x to score a touchdown? What the hell? What world do we live in?
There's something with his red zone target share funneling into their input there.
I mean, he's on the field 90% of the time.
Yeah, and in the red zone when they go 3 wide receiver sets, he's been taken off for Tutu Atwell when Atwell was healthy too. So been put on for Tutu. So, Tutu had been working between the 20s and stuff when they were splitting snaps. And then when they were in the red zone, they would take him out or whatever. Also, Higbee had been out for a bit too. So,
let's see. What other spots do we really like here?
Well, Kyle Pitts and Olave seem like a good way to spice this.
I mean, doesn't Kyle Pitts gets us to just 4. We don't even need 5 if you go Kyle Pitts. You're already to 100x, right?
Yeah.
Right. All right, let's do 2.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts is such a scary click that he forces you into 2.
Not bad.
Let's do 2 where we do this one and then we take Kyle Pitts out of it and do 2 more to get to 100x, or we find a replacement for Pitts. Because I'm quite confident in this.
How confident am I?
No, I said I'm quite confident in the. I like the McBride, Hopkins, Olave core. Like I really like that as like a 3 spice core.
All right, Nez, I locked this one in for us 50 each, and let's get one more.
I owe you for the 4th, or take it out of my winnings when at least 2 of these bad boys hit.
Yeah.
Okay, Olave, McBride.
I'm just assuming you have 50% of anything I blast off on, even after this show. I'm just going to be building pickups that send you the bill.
Yeah, just like, what the hell? I got this bill from Overset. Playing pickles behind my back.
John, what a fish, dude. Just use the link you just had, re-put it back in.
No, they rugged the spice?
What?
Why
are you looking at Spider?
Why are you looking at Donovan Mitchell?
Head in the game.
I did have $50 in hoops on Christmas Day and returned $50 back. So I am kind of a hoops guy.
Oh my gosh, you're better than me.
Thanks for being a part of the ecosystem.
Yeah. Well, I heard Newbie was worried he was going to get fired, so I had to hop in those streets.
I had more volume than I've ever had on Underdog in a given day on Christmas Day of all days.
Yeah.
And I couldn't sweat any of it because I was trying to be a good boy. Nerve
Yeah,
wracking.
Christmas sweats were tough to come by. I was driving home and it was the McBride. Like I had that on like red zone on my earbud, tried to like get it Trey McBride. Then I hear Greg Dortch scoring and I'm like, just burn it all down.
And there was like some hope that Greg Dortch stepped out of bounds there too.
Yeah.
Like they didn't really have any red zone snaps that game. It was crazy. Both their touchdowns came from outside the red zone. Yeah, it was tilting.
John, can you give me TDs? You're my eyes here.
I like the likely one, man. I really like the likely 2x.
Okay, just cycling through these. Do we like likely 2x more than the Ingram? That'd be
maybe not.
Maybe a little variety in the portfolio.
Oh shit! I just took away the Olave one. Now I've forgotten our core: the McBride, Olave, and
Nuke.
Oh yeah.
What does that get you to? That gets you to 90.
That gets you to
4.
90, but that's with 4. I could take likely out for Nuke too.
Does that get you to 100 with 4?
No, because Hopkins is going to be 1.5. So they'll get us to 67.5. So if we
that's
find
perfect
another
because we need another spice, right?
Yeah, if you find one more there that we like.
Well, I guess you don't have to have a spice, huh? Because that would be 6 points. Like if you just put in just a regular pick, John, just to test it out. That way it lets like put in that Pollard lower, because that's a great pick.
Oh, it gets you there.
That would be pretty hilarious if we did 4 spice with the Pollard lower, because like he's not scoring a touchdown. Dude sucks.
I hate him so much.
We don't have to. I think it would be a pretty funny bit. We do a bunch of hires, and then don't do it. Don't do it. But all that to say, all we need is a regular pick to make this 100.
Why don't we put that Nico in at 59.5? It seemed like we were all pretty jazzed on that.
Yep. Nico has really great home splits as well, which I recently found via a tweet that I'd lost.
I recently unearthed while scrolling through my Twitter feed.
I did that.
All right, Nez.
All right. So the core: McBride, Olave, Hopkins, and then adding in Ingram and Nico.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Spice up your life.
All right, Nez. The final accounting here. You got 200 in action. 2 of these to win 5K, 1 of these to win 1K, 1 of these to win a little over 600.
Nice.
It's gonna be we're gonna hit one of these spicers. We are.
I know. It'd be a great way to close out the season.
I did take a look at those, Mike. I was looking at the Higgins was at 2x2, which was kind of interesting, especially with Nez unearthing that nugget about Snead.
Snead's got a boo-boo on the calf, not practicing.
Interesting. Man, that catch he made was so ridiculous. The Higgins one.
Yeah.
That guy's going to get the bag this offseason. What's a fun landing spot for T. Higgins? Close it out.
Other than the Chiefs, or?
Yeah, I guess that would just be the chalk, right? Like that'd just be the optimal.
Yeah. All right, boys.
Steelers, and then they trade for Justin Fields. Close it down.
All right. It has been an absolute blast, as always. Week 17. Who knows what kind of mindset I'm going to be in next week as the cash game king. It's going to be a lot of playing the best plays. I won't be scrolling down for anyone. Just give me those highest projected guys. We shall see. But we'll be back next Friday. And anything else on your end other than people needing to subscribe to this channel?
Yeah, no, make sure you sub. Once I'm back in the home base, we're back to the Membies only morning streams. So you'll catch me next Thursday morning with a little something. So Come join. Members only. Badges at the door.
Badges at the door, baby. Yeah, I think our kind of we're still trying to figure out a little bit of stuff on our end, but I saw something in the chat earlier saying that they want the hoop stuff daily and that sort of deal. It's coming. It's definitely coming. It's going to hopefully be finalized early January there. So our next show will most likely be Tuesday, January 2nd or Wednesday, January 3rd. Looking at the calendar, and that will be week 18. It'll be week 17 recap and week 18 primer, and then Nez will do the hoops on the 4th, and we'll go from there. And then off it on the clock on the 5th. Cool. So probably plan for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week, and then kind of back to regular schedule programming the following week in January.
Yeah, last show of 2023. Thank you to all the Badge Bros, everyone from the Deposit Kingdom sweating with us. I know multiple of you will inevitably take down some tournaments this weekend. Excited to celebrate that with everyone. So best of luck with all of your week 17 sweats, and genuinely appreciate all of you guys who hang out with us here on Friday. So yeah, good luck as we ring in the new year. For Nez, for John, for Trey McBride, I'm Pete. We'll see you guys next time.